How Naruto failed its female characters by Sage's Reign.
In this series, if you can't offer love or healing to the men, what is your value? Because
What a
you'll never be as strong as them, so forget about that.
Wow, what a strong opening.
Naruto's biggest weakness is not respect for elders or time-honored values, but rather it is its astonishingly anachronistic gender roles. Its representation suggests that men are men and women are women, and that they differ naturally in regard to aptitude and vocation. This is a line from Professor Yukari Fujimoto's insert in the study Manga's Cultural Crossroads, edited by Jacqueline Berndt and Bettina Kummerling-Maybauer. And it is a line that perfectly encapsulates some of the issues of how the women in Naruto are written. From Professor Fujimoto's findings, she states that Naruto's female readership compared to male readership was much lower than opposing manga, specifically comparing Naruto to One Piece. This can be attributed to its poor treatment of its female characters and how rigidly they adhere to antiquated gender roles. In a world of fiction where foxes are sealed into stomachs of ninja and shinobi have the ability to control aspects of time and space, the women were always one step behind compared to the men. Now, this obviously is not anything new or groundbreaking, but I wanted to talk about it, so I am. I want to look at the women of Naruto through two lenses. A shorter look at these aforementioned gender roles, and then focusing on Sakura and Hinata, while also glossing over all of the other women of the series and how they are depicted in this story. I'll be using Fujimoto's findings and others to frame this dialogue. I think it's also important to say that if any of these characters are your comfort characters, or you find inspiration in them, or you just like them, this isn't meant to tell you that you shouldn't, because all the more power to you if they do. These are simply my views on the series and how I felt they could have been given more care and thought.
Oh, absolutely. No, 100%. As somebody that likes, as just shown, Mei Terumi, the fifth Mizukage, love the fifth Mizukage, she kind of got character assassinated, for being completely honest. And I think these are discussions that need to be had because not a lot of people discuss it. I myself have had a number of conversations with friends I've had in regards to how just absolutely done dirty some of the female characters in Naruto. They have so much potential. Mei Terumi, the fifth Mizukage, was around. It would have been around at the time Zabuza was doing his whole Hidden Mist Rebellion thing. They absolutely would have crossed each other's paths in settings. But while instead of having a cool Hidden Mist backstory with how she and Zabuza were doing covert missions together and dealing with Yagura controlled by Obito, we kind of just get that she has like two, because she also had Kekkei Genkai in a period where Kekkei Genkai, remember how Haku, entire Yuki clan, was absolutely just murked? Kekkei Genkai were persecuted in the Hidden Mist. She has not one, but two of them, right? And so it comes down to, like, she has such good setup. She had so much promise, and she just falls short and just gets done dirty.
The professor iterates that antiquated gender roles are actively cultivated, fighting men and healing women. A common gender stereotype that the women are supposed to be the healers, the nurses, the medics, the life givers. Now, healers are tremendously important in any setting, but in Naruto, they are all women. Even the ones who have shown skill in other areas are relegated to healers. For example, Sakura, whose true skill lied in genjutsu, became a healer. Out of the 11 Konoha Genin to become healers, all of them were women. Aside from them, the prominent women of this series, Tsunade, followed far behind by Karin and Chiyo, are all healers. Kabuto is the only male medical nin, and he's hardly displayed healing.
No.
Again, fighting men and healing women. Naruto
if anything, Kabuto's medical ninjutsu is used in a more offensive aspect. His chakra scalpels and stuff, very much used for offensive purposes.
Defies this idea of women being one step behind. Taking a look at combative skills specifically, women are seldomly represented carrying much weight in battle. In the words of Professor Fujimoto once more, she says that female ninja who could overwhelm men purely through their combat skills do not make an appearance in this manga. Naruto has plenty of feared shinobi when it comes to combat. Madara, Naruto himself, Hashirama, Pain, Obito, Kakashi, and so many more. And the only female character to make this list would be Kaguya, quite frankly the worst antagonist of the series. Out of dozens and dozens of men, there's only one. On a lower level, amongst the weaker shinobi in this regard, Hinata, Kurenai, Tenten, Ino, the women all pale in comparison to their male counterparts in combat. Even Hashirama's never-before-seen healing jutsu was supposedly so much more advanced compared to Tsunade's. This is an idea that is reflected throughout Naruto countless times.
I don't necessarily take an issue with Tsunade Senju having a nerfed version of her grandfather's healing jutsu. Let me explain a little bit, though. I don't have an issue with her having a nerf version of it because throughout the series, there is a consistent theme of, in the past, shinobi used to be stronger. I mean, obviously, the Warring States era, Hashirama versus Madara, Uchiha versus Senju, and kind of also the diluting of chakra throughout time as generations progress. I'm not necessarily going to contest that. What I can take issue with is that no matter what, I'm running into agreement with this analysis that they are always a step behind. You can have absolute just amazing female characters, strong female characters like Anko, where you even have there could have been a whole cool storyline arc that goes into Orochimaru's curse mark, and maybe she was able to finally use that power for her own by modifying the seal a little bit, and her being her own complete just force of nature. Karin Uzumaki had the whole chakra chains and went toe to toe with not the Shinsu Senju, but the not the true 10,000 hands, but the 100 hands, right? The smaller one that Guru Zetsu and Yamato had in the fourth Ninja War. Just used chakra chains and went toe to toe with that. And what happens with Karin? She's little more than an afterthought after scenes like that. You have Mei Terumi where, oh, well, she can fight Sasuke one-on-one, except that Sasuke, even though his Susanoo is melting and his skin is burning from the pH levels in the air being adjusted, which she's unaffected by as well, showing her finesse and absolute just raw power. He just punches through a wall, and then, Onoki's about to deal the final blow rather than her. And it feels like they just get done dirty. And it's hard to really get behind that, and or from a female empowerment standpoint, when you have characters like Onoki that are somehow just outdoing people like Mei, that you have one-armed Raikage that is still doing more damage to Madara than Mei, and it's like it is a consistent theme with female characters and female roles that just keep a back burner. And I think part of it also, you have to look at it from a contextual standpoint. Like the, Yashahime, the Inuyasha continuation. A lot of people have issue with the Rinnex Shishomaru dynamic, and obviously so, because minor, right? But what you can say in context of it being feudal Japan, you can kind of see where the writers are going with that. You can kind of justify it, if you will, in setting, in the art itself, not outside of it. But just getting into that setting kind of makes sense as well, where you have a predominantly male-dominated world in Naruto, and women, unfortunately, are getting the shaft on that. And it can be a commentary on that as well, whether that's Kishimoto's intent or not. I actually have never heard of this person's thoughts on this before, honestly. And I'm agreeing with their analysis. It's really unsettling how just often these female characters take a back role.
Fujimoto then continues to give this idea as a potential reason for why, after researching many internet boards, that the female characters are often the most disliked characters, with Sakura perched at the top of that list.
Yeah.
A major issue with the women of Naruto is that many of their characters' motivations, and frankly their existence, are tied to the male characters of the series. While the majority of the focus will be on Sakura and Hinata, it's important to view the side characters as well.
Hi, Karin.
I'm Sakura Haruno. What I like, the person I like is...
Awful.
My hobby is, my dream.
You just hear that, and how you just hear that intro from Sakura from early part 1, right? And it's hard to not just be apathetic at a certain point. It's hard to just like, okay, we get it. You have a crush on Sasuke. We get it. Which led to the whole Hinata having a cool, interesting dynamic because, was it Sasuke liked longer hair? And knowing that he liked longer hair, Hinata intentionally cut hers short to kind of avoid it. That's super interesting as a detail. But yeah, when a lot of your plot motivation is characters that are only there for the sake of other characters and not anything nearly as interesting as Sasuke's obsession with Itachi due to his needing to find and gank him because of the Uchiha clan's fate, right? Okay, like, now we have some compelling stuff here. Jiraiya had an interesting interaction as well, just being the old pervy dude. Like, what he was. Had it, and it kind of added to his characters, where there's that famous scene of him just being like, X centimeters. Gosh, what are you talking about? Tsunade's bust size, X centimeters, right? And it's just like, it just adds to his character. There's not as much characterization, and it's awful
For
for the female characters.
Naruto's goal is to become Hokage, and Sasuke's goal is to restore his clan's honor. Throughout the series, these stories are fleshed out and developed. They are emotional and compelling, filled with twists and turns, made with genuine thought and care. We have Naruto, the son of the late 4th Hokage, battling and growing with the Nine Tails sealed inside of him. Sasuke, who's chasing the man who killed his entire clan, who also happens to be his brother. Moreover, even Lee fights to chase his dreams, Neji fights because it's his destiny. But Sakura and Ino fight for the unreciprocated love of some kid. Now, sure, it's a childish crush, but these were the roots of an idea that blossomed into a major issue. Looking at Sakura in particular, she never needed an emotional or dark backstory to have depth or to even be interesting. It's the fact that she doesn't have goals throughout the series other than wanting to be with Sasuke or wanting to catch up to him in Naruto.
Mm-hmm.
Her character's whole existence is driven by Sasuke. They seldomly have actual conversations in part 1.
I actually have to interject really quick. I know that this track is from Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core, and it fits so well. God, I love that game so much. That was a very good addition here.
And in Shippuden, he still remains the driving force of her character trying to become stronger. Sakura has no agency, no goals or dreams of her own if it isn't tied to Sasuke. How amazing would it have been if Sakura was given even an inkling of the thought that was given towards all of these other supporting characters? And if she was given the care that Naruto and Sasuke were given, she'd have become an ideal for other writers to pursue.
It's not impossible for this series either. How many people wrote off Might Guy over the years? How many people are, oh, haha, he's just funny comedic relief dude that's obsessed with youth, right? Until he fights Six Paths Madara and it goes 8 gates, which I am forever going to be bitter that Storm Connections completely omitted him. I am absolutely appalled that Might Guy was omitted from doing his 8 gates thing in the histories, right? If you want a better Ninja Storm story, go play Storm 4 for the later Ninja War. I was incredibly disappointed with Storm Connections for omitting that important detail. But how many people circling back, had written off Might Guy until that fight? I know I did. I know I liked him in passing. I've liked characters like Killer Bee, Kisame over the years. And it wasn't until Might Guy was given that opportunity to shine for all of his characterization, as subtle and limited as it was, to finally culminate together, to wind into this one singular fight, this one singular do or die fight, right? And we'll see if YouTube gets an anger that I said the D word, but like, it culminates in that singular moment or moments, and he unleashes just a variety of just epic attacks and almost finishes Madara off. Six Paths Madara was factually, canonically, almost finished off by Might Guy. For plot convenience, Deus Ex Madara, right? Yeah, he wasn't. But to just show that a background character, or at least one that is relegated to the background a lot of the time, can push through, break and surpass all limits and completely almost destroy the main antagonist. It's not like this series can't do it. So it's just frustration there.
Sakura is a shinobi without any genetic or special advantage. She's become strong off of the merits of her own hard work. She's proven herself. But these moments always felt fleeting. Against Sasori with Lady Chiyo, Sakura really proved herself.
Yeah.
It felt like the beginning of actual depth to her character. It felt like she could actually catch up to Naruto and Sasuke. But she didn't prove herself again until the war. We never even saw her work towards the ability she developed during the war. Not even
that one a lot of people had issues with. I'm not opposed to her having the 100 healings, but there was nothing as like a mention of it. In like Final Fantasy 14 spoilers, 3, 2, 1. In like Final Fantasy 14, we know that Omega Weapon is a thing. And a couple times, like what was it, the Monitorist and Uldan stuff, they mentioned Omega by name. And so knowing Omega's in the game, it led up to, oh, now we're going to find Omega Weapon, and Omega Weapon's going to go fight Shinryu. We're going to have this cool moment, right? At the end of Heaven's Ward, right? Super cool. I love it. But it was led up to. There were things that led up to that decision. There really wasn't any mention of her even striving towards us, and that's why it came off as cheap to a lot of people. And I will give Kishimoto credit because, I mean, he had to have been experiencing crunch. Like, the final arc, the fourth grade ninja ward went super hard, and a lot of people didn't like the whole Madara into Kaguya thing, and I can understand why they didn't like it. I personally take more issue with Madara being able to use his Susanoo without any eyes. I think Deus Ex Madara strikes really hard there, but I've also noted that I don't really like Madara being a plot element rather than a character. He doesn't have those limitations. He just kind of overcomes everything that he's needed to. He's almost the opposite effect of what female characters in Naruto go through, where they're one step behind. He's always one step ahead, if seemingly unfairly.
A training montage. During Pain's assault, Sakura healed people and destroyed a summon, sure. But her defining moment during that arc was
crying for
calling
Naruto.
out for Naruto. Even Konohamaru got to defeat one of Pain's paths.
Yeah, he did.
It's these moments that truly disappoint. When asking a few of my friends what they thought of the female characters of this series, a common idea was the fact that the women who are quite physically powerful constantly needed saving. They were never strong enough. They never got to die a shinobi's death on the battlefield, which again relates to the idea that women in Naruto are only medics and healers. To get back to the point, for a main character, Sakura could not be more uninteresting and underutilized. I want to reinforce the fact that this is supposed to be a main character. She should have been as important as, say, Obito or Kakashi in Madara. However, from the very beginning, the audience was never given a reason to emotionally connect with her or with her infatuation over Sasuke. To close Sakura's section, Sakura's justification as a good character cannot be because she's physically strong. Physical strength doesn't equal a well-written character. And it's baffling to me that in order to defend Sakura's character, you have to point out obscure moments and feats, not actual plot points. Because aside from that, she's just not interesting at all. She isn't a relatable or compelling character. Let's call a spade a spade. She's just there to fill the quota, to be the role of nurse to Naruto and Sasuke.
So I will say, I think that actually hits the point home, and I think a lot of modern writing can take cues from that. Just because a female character is physically strong or perceived as strong doesn't necessarily make them a good character. You can have a character that can punch mountains apart, but if they're, if their personality is as shallow as a puddle, people aren't necessarily going to latch onto them. I'm sure Killer Bee. I latched on to Killer Bee as one of my favorite characters for a while during high school because he had such personality to him. He had such wit, comedic timing, so much going on with his character that I absolutely loved him for a period of time. I still do love him. I think he got done dirty. He just got relegated to background character. I actually don't even know if he's still alive as of Momoshiki and stuff in regards to Boruto. But like he's super cool. And he had how much showing compared to Sakura, compared to Kurenai, who just got related to mother duty at a certain point in time. And you could also view Sakura as a little bit of a commentary, where Sakura is a really bland and boring person who is capable of great feats and just kind of wants a simpler life, you could make a commentary about that, because the whole of Naruto could also be seen as a part of it in commentary in regards to a patriarchal society, right? You have Hokage, who's generally been male throughout history, Tsunade being the fifth, who was kind of breaking that. But you can, it's been relegating female ninjas a lot of the time to medical roles, where you can note that there's certain societal structures and expectations, and like Tenten got related to just arms merchant in Boruto, which is heartbreaking considering Tenten, a lot of people forget about Tenten in my opinion, literally has the tools of the Sage of Six Paths, and we can't do anything interesting with that. We can't have her deal some fatal blow to Madara with that during the final war arc. Not too much, I guess. Well, sorry, Tenten. And how they just get relegated to these NPC roles or these uninteresting roles. And yes, the focus is on the adventures of Naruto and Sasuke, or the re-adventures of Indra and Ashura's reincarnates, right? Like, and so the focus is on them. Yes, and you want Naruto and Sasuke to do cool things, but if female characters fall to the wayside, even if there is commentary on the greater society as a whole, which is rather unfortunate. And maybe there was a filler arc where there was like a female predominated clan or something like that. You could do something cool with that in setting where, like, yes, you have the Uchiha, but then you may have something like the Yuki clan is Haku's clan, but you have something like the Chikara clan, right? Chikara meaning power, right? And the roles are reversed there. It'd be an interesting commentary on how the rest of the ninja world, the five great nations, interact with such a village, such a clan, such an entity, where the roles are reversed, and you have this character that, through their own traumas, their own trials and tribulations, can fight on par with Naruto and Sasuke, and becomes an inspiration to people like Hinata, Sakura, Tenten, etc. I think that could have been a really cool plot point, but alas, we don't have that, and is more in the realm of fanfiction territory. Sorry, speaker users.
Moving on to Hinata, while her reasons for latching onto Naruto were valid, lacks any sort of internal motivation that is unrelated to the male characters. She once had an interesting goal, which was to navigate her way through the burden of her father's expectations, though her younger sister was stronger than her. But that was never fully explored.
No.
Instead, it turned into her wanting Naruto's attention and gaining her courage because of him. Hinata had the potential to be an interesting character, and her personality could have been used to further complement her development. The young Hyuga is shy and weak, but is supposed to be this ever-compassionate and kind girl. But when Naruto gets berated by the whole village in his youth, she never once defends him, showing that true compassion, taking a chance in being Naruto's friend and saving him for a change. Instead, she becomes a character who exists to please Naruto and to further his motivation, finally being brave, and she decided to do it when he was fighting pain. But it's motivation that Naruto already has plenty of, motivation that he's had since his birth. Further, Pain had just killed Jiraiya, his sensei, but Hinata is what takes him over the edge. Suddenly, she exists now to sacrifice herself for Naruto's life. Hinata as a shinobi never felt comfortable to be on the front lines. For one of the first times, we have a shinobi who actually belongs with a medical nin. I think she could have become a powerful healer, using her Byakugan to complement her abilities and to find her true strength. Instead, she's put on the front lines and Neji dies for her, reassuring the audience of her weakness. As stated earlier, the women of this series always need to be saved. What a moment it could have been for Hinata's development if she had saved him, taking us back to their battle in the Chunin exams, further exploring the themes of family and destiny. Hinata is a character who just doesn't do much. It's very realistic to be a shy, anxious, and passive person, but you can be shy or anxious and still be strong, still be motivated, still have dreams, etc. Hinata has shown instances of being resilient and being brave, but it's disappointing to me that she's never been strong because she desired it for herself and for her own reasons. Hinata never discovered that strength on her own. What would she be if it weren't for Naruto? She wants to be cool for Naruto. She wants to protect Naruto. She loves Naruto. She's courageous because of Naruto. It's boring. Love is never a bad motivation, but looking at it in this context, when you already have countless pieces of media telling them that their dreams should be geared towards pleasing or being protected by men, it is a failure that nearly every prominent woman in this series has the same goal. It tells nothing about independence or agency. It tells nothing about self-worth. It's so boring.
So I'm gonna get crucified for this. I've never actually been a Hinata fan. I understand why people like Hinata. I totally get it. I've never been a Hinata fan. I'm gonna get absolutely roasted for this hot take. But like, no, I think he's absolutely on point with this. And Hinata suffered. If you were to change, I actually kind of like how she was portrayed in the last, actually. The alternate world, alternate universe, mini Infinite Tsukuyomi thing where Hinata was actually this like strong, gruff character. I think that you could have absolutely told a story about a character who was dealing with, after the Chunin exams, the fallout and the repairing of the Hyuga clan and the dynamics within, and have her dealing with stuff like that in the background, while also still being a kind and compassionate character that wants love and attention from Naruto. I understand that the love and attention from Naruto aspect is Kishimoto trying to tell a love story at that point in time. And, part of the trials and tribulations through love, much as in the same way that you have Sakura and Sasuke and their trials and tribulations through love, different love, but in different factions, two parallel love stories. Like, I understand it. And I think if you stray a little too far away from Hinata being shy and meek, and suddenly every scene you see with her is the twin raging lion fist, right, versus Pain, suddenly you have a completely different character. I'm not opposed to the shy and meekness, but I do agree that the core goals are kind of suspect, and that the character only becomes one-dimensional. And I think that it could have led to an interesting story arc where, and maybe we got this in later Boruto, I don't think we did, because she's kind of just mom role at this point, where Naruto gets gravely injured, like he did during the fight versus Pain, and Hinata goes absolutely just zerk. Or there could have been a cool chapter where Naruto gets incapacitated and Sakura has to heal Naruto, which could have happened a number of times throughout the Fourth Great Ninja War. But Hinata has to take over there for a minute, or she's so overcome by grief that she starts lashing out and potentially is uncontrollable, and people have to restrain her. There could be a number of things like that happen, or even going back into like a Chunin arc or Chunin exam kind of setting, right, where something happens to Naruto, or someone manipulates her into thinking that something happened to Naruto, to play on that emotions, to play on that fear that she has, and to watch her lash out. So where the Chunin exam proctors, or the proctors at that time, some of the Naruto clan has to step in with their shadow strangulation jutsu and actually like stop her, and then she has to live with that guilt and then come to terms and then still love Naruto after. There could be so many things that you could do with this. Part of it also is that she just doesn't do anything. Like, she's just kind of there. Sometimes she pops in like in the Pain fight, or trying to protect Naruto from the Ten Tails blast, which Neji has to then subsequently protect her and, dare I say, quote unquote, save her from, right? That theme of male characters saving female characters in the series. Like, there are moments like that just get absolutely washed out. It's not dissimilar to like where Obito was about to do Geto Rene Rebirth, and he was about to Rene Tensei, and he was about to revive all the allied shinobi forces that had perished in the Fourth Great Ninja War, and then Black Zetsu takes over, which made it interesting, and thus reviving Madara to full. Like, how that would have invalidated a lot of that, and how a lot of people feel that the Pain fight ending with Nagato using Rene Tensei completely nullified it. It's because when there are no consequences, why should your audience care? Star Wars Episode 9 does this amazingly, because in the scene where Chewbacca, right, looks like he's being taken away by the transport, and Rey has to struggle and try to grasp with Kylo Ren, and ends up destroying the transport. That sense of loss for, oh no, Chewie's just in a different transport, he just bait and switched it. How to your audience, that's a betrayal of their expectations. I've gone over similar things like this before, but your stakes have to be real. It's okay to have a plot twist. It's okay to have a bait and switch, but it has to be reasonable to your audience. If suddenly everyone can get rezzed, if suddenly there are no consequences for action, why should your audience, your reader, your viewer, why should they care? And that's something, if you're writing or you're dealing with stories, you should be taking into consideration. I think Hinata is a strong female character. If she did more and she was characterized more, I think she could have been, instead of a great character, an amazing and phenomenal character. But I do see why people like her regardless. Man, we're just going to
even Tsunade, who has become one of my favorite characters, while much less than others, her dreams were still never her own. It was protecting the dreams of others, of Dawn, Nawaki, Naruto, and Jiraiya. The other two women of the Konoha 11 weren't as present in this series, but Ino falls in line during part 1 to this idea, though she does improve after the death of Asuma, coming into her own. But out of the 11, Tenten was the most distant of this idea, and she might have the least amount of screen time out of them all.
Yes.
Outside of the Konoha 11, Temari, who was equally powerful and showed her potential throughout the series, went sorely underused.
I want to point out, because people underestimate this, even though it was a flank, she landed a hit on Madara. The entire scene where they're fighting, he was dancing through their blades, their kunai, their fists. He was dancing through them. She landed a hit on Madara. That is not to be understated. Well, she landed a surprise hit. I mean, it's ninja. What do you want from me?
Many of the minor characters either fall to this concept or do not get used throughout the story. Take Kushina, for example, who wanted to become the first female Hokage. She became a housewife. Rinohara, who always needed to be saved. And Karin, who was just another of Sasuke's accessories. Anko, who was a student under Orochimaru but is unseen after the Chunin exams.
Yeah.
It's easy to dismiss them as minor or side characters, but we can all name the distinguished personalities and motivations that many of the male characters have. Shikamaru, Danzo, Zabuza, and Haku even. These were all individuals who had motivations and stories that were emotionally compelling, and rarely were these characters tied to a woman.
I don't actually see a lot of people talking about Danzo. I actually really love him as a character. Like, he is one of my favorite characters. But Kip, he's just a grumpy old man that's just political all the time. Yeah, he's great. But I hate Danzo. You have to hate him as a character. Oh, I hate him as a character. I love that I hate him. He's just so good. Danzo actually is kind of super cool to me, and he has a lot of, like, that being said, like characterization on just Danzo, right? A character that shows up, like, what? Think a couple times in part 1, mostly in the Kage Summit, and gets ganked by Sasuke for story reasons, right? Leading to the Uchiha from the Uchiha clan events. His eyes of, like, he was willing to one in the CCG. He has a one of the cards. I think it's his set 26 counterpart, the one where he actually has his eyes on his arm. I'll have to see if I can't find my copy. I'm pretty sure I have a copy, and I'll take a picture of it and post it. But, like, his name, it's literally Pursuit of Power, I think, is his effect text name. He is willing to pursue power at any cost, up into dealing with Orochimaru to get a completely prosthetic arm of Hashirama cells and Uchiha eyeballs to do Kinjutsu, to do the Izanagi, which is absolutely game-changing, and anyone but Sasuke or Kage level would have been absolutely routed by Danzo. Can you imagine if they took that approach, even as someone as little showcased as Danzo, and applied to Anko maybe being able to draw upon Orochimaru's curse marks to do some really cool things? And I know Anko kind of came back into the fray at some point, and she was hunting for Orochimaru, which led to Kabuto catching up. Oh, she's hunting for Kabuto, I think, right? Which led to Kabuto capturing her, and that's why she's in the cave with him. Like, or applying that to Mei Terumi, maybe fleshing her backstory out a little bit, like, yes, I remember Zabuza. Him and I had some good times, and maybe flashbacks to some warfare scenes of them dealing with them as a hidden mist ex-ninja, rogue ninja, versus actual hidden mist ninja, fighting the swordsman of the seven swordsmen of the mist, right? There's so many cool things that you could just insert. You don't even need the screen time. Danzo is evident of this. You just need to write them properly.
But it's telling that in this series, if you can't offer love or healing to the men, what is your value? Because you'll never be as strong as them, so forget about that. In this story, the men are the strongest fighters, the best mentors, the smartest, and they are the most present. Even the two female antagonists, Kaguya and Konan, were just there. Kaguya was extremely underwhelming as the series' final antagonist. She appeared out of thin air and was defeated just as fast. And Konan had the stage set to be interesting.
She did.
Unique and creative ability and a good motivation, but she too was relegated to being the silent accessory to Nagato and Yahiko. When it comes to the themes of family, again, the men of Naruto excel. Brotherhood is strong in Naruto. Look at the relationship between Sasuke and Itachi, Kakashi and Obito, Hashirama and Tobirama, Naruto and Sasuke. They were all well done and were captivating stories with different ideals and parallels. But sisterhood doesn't exist in that universe. Sakura and Ino fighting over a boy. Sakura and Karin vying over unrequited love. Hinata and Hanabi would have made an interesting angle, but again, potential squandered.
I think that this is going to get misconstrued by a certain part of the internet, especially there's a reason I don't associate with certain fandoms or groups within fandoms. And I feel like this is going to be like a whole, it has nothing to do with inclusion. It has everything to do with writing. Like, there are really cool characters like Killer Bee, right? Is he not black? Is he not? Like, is that not the intent there? Dude is super cool. You have interesting characters like Conan, who had these stage set to absolutely just obliterate Obito, and then minus Izanagi, right? He would have succeeded, right? Like, representation, in my opinion, isn't really an issue, especially even going into Boruto. Like, it's not the issue. It's the writing and the fumbling of certain characters and certain character arcs and leaving characters effectively on red and not continuing their characterization. I would have loved nothing more than post-war, like, to see more B, see more A and B fighting together, do more lariat shenanigans. I would have loved to see that. I would have loved to see a situation where Anko and the 5th Mizukage had a really cool fight rather than Tsunade and the Mizukage and Mei being accessory to the other 3 Kages. And yes, well, Tsunade landed some good hits on Madara. Like, during that entire fight, I mean, Mei is kind of a supporting role and Tsunade is kind of a supporting role until she's the only one standing for plot reasons, and then she just continues fighting and with help from Dawn and stuff, right? Like, it has everything, is nothing. The inclusion isn't the issue. The issue is the writing and the omission of characters and just kind of dropping characters, which it gets hard, I understand, especially a story that size, story this size as Naruto and so many characters, and wanting to tell the Naruto and Sasuke story. But the universe as a whole still exists, still is living and breathing. And so that's the issue we're taking with today, is the writing. Not necessarily that, you know, women aren't part of the series. Women are part of the series, and due to societal things, look at Danzo if you want an example of the dogmatic former generation, right? Look at Danzo, right? You can, or Tobi Rama. You can see why maybe they're not necessarily focused on women being on the battlefield, and that is absolutely a commentary you can make on the series and parallels you can draw, as well as, from my understanding at the very least, Edo period Japanese warfare, was it not primarily fought by men? I mean, war across the planet was fought primarily by men, from my understanding. Not that you couldn't have cool female characters or cool female personalities. I mean, absolutely you could. It is kind of that mass, not consensus, that mass perception kind of thing, where it's easier to have a story of men fighting and women healing when those are just broad strokes generalizations.
I need to say that when it comes to romance, it's so abundantly clear that Naruto and Sasuke would have made much better romantic partners than anyone other than maybe Shikamaru and Temari, the best couple, of course. I believed much more in Naruto and Sasuke, in their emotional tension as friends and enemies, rivals, much more than I believed in Naruto and Hinata, and definitely way more than the absent relationship that is Sakura and Sasuke. To get back on topic, as expressed earlier, the women of Naruto do not have value if the men are not involved. Their personal goals do not matter. From Sarah G. Doherty's article, she states that the women in Naruto are all shadows of real women, but they all fall within the shonen framework that places women either in the male gaze or in the position to later fulfill the very good wife, wise mother ideal. The idea that women should aspire to be nothing more than wives to husbands and mothers to children.
I do like that analysis. I think that's incredibly on point.
The ones who have shown agency were either sorely underused or they were forced into that good wife, wise mother ideal, like Kushina. And the only one to stray from this is Tsunade, one out of dozens and dozens of characters. To finally close,
rather unfortunate.
I know I'm going to get comments saying that shonen is written only for young males, and that just isn't true. Sure, it might be their target audience, but women, girls, men, seniors, non-binary folks, everybody in between reads and watches shonen.
That's
not an excuse to not write good and multidimensional female characters. It just isn't. The Naruto series will have a place in my heart forever, and I have made that clear. But nothing is above criticism. And the women of this series were let down on so many levels, and reducing these characters to single moments, having them be defined by the men around them, further perpetuates an outdated and unfair gaze and purpose of women in entertainment, TV, and anime and manga, whatever. For the creative abilities and unique character designs that were produced for these characters, it is potential once again squandered. I've always said that representation matters, and it will always matter. But critical representation is even more important. Representation that stays with the audience after an episode or after the final battle. I understand that there is more than just writing that is poured into these stories, that there are a plethora of different cultural and societal implications that go into it. Ideas that were...
This actually feeds into what I was saying about the Edo period warfare kind of comment. This is what I was referring to.
Approved or disapproved of. But the fact of the matter is that these characters could have been written with so much more meaningful thought behind them.
Yes.
For all of the breathtaking heights that Naruto reached, it had its fair share of low points. But the way Naruto failed its female characters, to me, is the series' lowest point.
I do think that a lot of people will misconstrue that scene before the Naruto and Sasuke fight at the Iron Bridge, or Samurai Bridge, right? The Land of Iron Samurai Bridge. And they misconstrue it as Sakura saying that she has feelings for Sasuke and she's trying to steal her resolve is what's happening, because you have Sasuke versus Danzo on the bridge. Sakura comes on in after Karin is kind of dealt with, and Sasuke is like, fine, prove your loyalty to me by doing this, and she tries to outright gank Sasuke, but she said what she was saying kind of as a lie, if that makes sense. She was saying that, well, I don't care about the leaf. I don't care about the village. It was in order to get close to Sasuke to find her mark. But the failing of that obviously is because, I didn't find my resolve, as you saw in that scene. I didn't find my resolve, and she couldn't land that blow on Sasuke, which led to Sasuke attacking her, and then Naruto and Sasuke having that dialogue after that. There was a lot of it's an example of it starts cool. It started great, but the finishing blow wasn't there. The absolute what would have made that great didn't quite happen. So it's very interesting. I like the whole Samurai Bridge Land of Iron sequence from Danzo versus Sasuke, which I think is one of the most underrated fights in the series, to that whole sequence there. Then Naruto v Sasuke, what little we got of that. Kakashi v Sasuke too was also very, very good at that point in time. But I don't think that it's necessarily lack of representation. I think that there's representation, but the focus isn't necessarily on everyone. The focus is on a few different people, and that's rather unfortunate. You have entire potential plot lines. You have entire potential avenues for character growth and development that get unfortunately shafted. And I understand there's gonna be contracts behind that. I understand there's gonna be certain expectations, certain audiences, readers, and stuff. I would argue that it's not even the shonen expectation. What Gundam but shonen? What is it? Build Fighters, right? Build Fighters and Build Fighters Try. Series was great. I loved it. I loved Build Fighters. I thought it was kind of cool. I thought that I watched Build Fighters and Build Fighters Try specifically. I didn't watch beyond that. Like Divers, right? It was cool. I like it. You don't necessarily watch shonen because you're a dude or because it caters to some weird male. A lot of shonen is that cool. We get to see action and the good guys beating up the bad guys and character arcs and development and having sometimes, like at the end of Build Fighters Try, a really good fight with the opening soundtrack. God, that was so good. I think it was, what was it? I think it was like Build Burning versus, I can't remember the German name for the other one. Such a good fight, though. Oh my God, that's the way I watch it. It's cheesy, it's corny, it's action-packed, and it's great. But to circle back into the subject matter, I do think that Naruto did, unfortunately, fail a lot of its female characters. We even have cool setup like 1010 and the Sage of Six Pass tools, and it unfortunately leads to nowhere, or has led to nowhere, at least thus far. And there's a lot that the fans could pick up, and there's a lot that fanfic writers could do. And this is something that you could look at and think, if I were to make a series, if I were to write characters, if I were to make a story, what can I do to have strong female characters, strong female representation? What could I do to help improve this? And I think that is key to itself. Educate yourself, look into things, learn things so you can do better and rise above. But that's all the time we have for today. Thank you everyone for coming out. I know I effectively 2x'd this video and then some. If you have not checked out Sage's Reign, very good content, very awesome content. If you want to see this in an uncut form, potentially I've glossed over something as well, definitely go ahead and check him out. Awesome individual, love his content, and I will see you all in the next one.